Hi, this is Mr. Aguilar once again. This is another video in my tutorial videos on texture. I did a tutorial on drawing a leaf and a leaf texture, and then I went through a series of tree tutorials and made those into individual videos. So I want to show you the sketches from those. I also indicate, tips and tricks for, drawing what the leaves would look like gathered together as a tree and foliage versus individual. And so these are just the drawings from those tutorials, and what I wanted to go over now is, okay, these take a while. So what if I want to draw something quickly? Like, what if I wanted to do a landscape and I wanted to create a video? I don't know how long it's going to be, so we'll just take it as it progresses, and if I feel that I can just fast forward some of the parts, I will. My suggestion is, if you're going to draw a group of trees for an illustration, understand what trees go with what trees. Meaning, you can't draw like an oak tree at a low elevation and combine it with pine trees or evergreen trees that you're going to see at 5, 6, 7,000 feet of elevation. Those two trees don't grow near each other. So that's the other thing to keep in mind when you're drawing. Also, if you're making a drawing that is specific to a region, you want to draw the trees that are specific to that region. You don't want to take something that grows in a desert or an arid area and put it in a jungle scene, right? Like a cactus does not belong in a jungle scene. So you also want to keep that in mind. So what I like to do is I want to give some tips and tricks. One thing you're going to notice is I have a group of papers underneath it, and that's just to soften it up. If you draw on a hard surface, you can dig into your paper, and then when you erase and draw, you'll always have that line because you dug into the paper. So I always try to keep the tabletop a little bit softer. Keep back on the pencil. I don't want to apply a lot of pressure to the tip. I don't want to dig in. And then it's important, like when you're doing details, you should have a sharpened pencil. If you're not doing details, it's fine if it gets a little duller. Sometimes it can be easier. So let's look at drawing some trees really quickly. And I'm going to draw just a pine tree really fast. So I'm going to lay this in. This is my shape. And I'm going to put my boundary line in. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see this. I'll darken this up a bit. And then, so there's going to be one of my trees. I don't want to draw too dark. And then I could come in and say, okay, I'm going to have another one. It's going to be slightly bigger, maybe narrower. It's going to come right here. And then maybe I'll have a smaller one in the background, and then maybe there's one like back here. So I have a grouping of 4 trees. And if you notice, when I put them in, okay, it's just going to be the basic shape of that triangle shape. Now, from my demos, and let me grab the demo, you can get very specific on what type of tree you want to draw. Some of these trees, they go up, others go down. You can mix and match them together. I think you're better off looking like at a forest scene if you want to get a good grasp on what it looks like. For right now, what I'm doing is I'm just going to do these out of my head, and I'm just going to go really, really quickly. So I have my overall shape, and this is where I'm going to sharpen my pencil a bit. And I already know that the tree will break up into groups. And I'm just going to start loosely going down through the side, and I'm not going to connect. I'm going to leave gaps, right? This one's the closest one to me, so it's going to have the most detail. And I want to change the angle. You got to be aware of gravity. And I just want to go through and space these out. Now, if you want to help yourself out, you can put some markers in here to really help you visually. And that's just to help break it up. You're going to do those light, though, if you do them, and you want to keep them light as possible. I'm not going to erase any type of guideline that I put in, because, again, I'm trying to do this video quickly in real time. If I feel like I want to do something that's where I need more time, then what I'll do is I'll just do like a sped up film and maybe do a voiceover on it. One other thing to keep in mind when you're talking about the center of the trees, okay, so you kind of get stuff like this and stuff like this that are popping up in the tree. Just draw in that shape. Okay, so when I'm doing this, a lot of times I'm just going to draw in this shape, knowing that this under part's going to be a shadow. Okay, and I'll just come in and do that, and then if it's coming up, you can do it in reverse. You can have a section coming up here. So I'll just go ahead and do those, and that's just coming in and out. What are some of the other things people do? They tend to put a lot of mass into trees. And while like some trees that are bushy might have a lot of mass, most trees have a lot of negative space. And this is how you use that boundary. It just keeps you from going too far out, too far in. And I just come in and I'll start putting stuff in, and I get my shapes in here. And you're going to find a lot of the stuff you do is just going to be repetitive. And a lot of this, what I'm doing with this, I'm putting in this part right here. I'm putting in this part. Because that's going to be my shadows. And then what I'll do is above it, I'll put those details in. And you'll see some of them kind of look like this too. Right, so I'll have both those angles right here. And again, it's important to understand, you know, what's that leaf look like, what's that structure that's coming out and jutting out, what's coming up, because that's what's going to allow you to come through and quickly put these in. I mentioned this in the other video. Don't look at this and then come over here and try to draw exactly what you see over here. Just do your best to ignore that and come in and just kind of draw whatever comes into your brain. Just kind of let it go. And it kind of looks like I'm scribbling, but I'm not. It's very loose, like here. I keep it very rough. Okay, and then you can see where I have some of that coming out. And then I know like this area is going to be in shadow because it's underneath the tree. So once I have it labeled in, and then this is my detailed one. Okay, my other ones are going to be slightly different. I'm going to erase some of the bold lines that you can see. And then so there's one right here, I guess. Did I get them all? Yeah. Let me move that mouse. Hopefully that mouse wasn't there the whole time. I don't want to have to restart this. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you guys can see. And I'm just going to go in and place my values. This is where you got to use logic. Okay, the closer something is to you, the more values it's going to have, the darker the shadows are going to appear. The farther away something is from you, the lighter it's going to appear, and the shadows aren't going to be as bold. That's atmospheric perspective. The other thing is this is needles. So I want to use hatching for a lot of my lines. Right? I want to use hatching. And then anytime I feel that my pencil's getting a little dull, I'll just come back in and just sharpen it again. Trees are not white, so you don't want to have too many highlights. You can come in and put a nice little light value in afterwards. You get rid of some of that bright white. And then you're going to have enough of your shadows and dark values. What I would do now is I would look and say, okay, where do I need a shadow? And then just put those values in. And you can see how I'm like with this end of the pencil, I already have a lot of my lines that I need. So I can come in and really bolster some of these shadows in. Especially as I get down to the base, because the base is going to be that thickest part. This is where you're going to have all your dark values and shadows right here at that base. That's receiving the fewest amount of light. Let's add some other textural elements. And then as you move up, it's going to get a little bit lighter because you're getting more light peeking through because they're going to be thinner. And that's why I like to suggest the trunk coming through little sections. Not much, just enough. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one alone, and I'm going to move into let's put some stuff in the ground. Here is my other tree. Here's the center. Here's going to be the trunk. Put that in. Now this is where it gets really easy and fast. Lighten that up. I know that the farther I move back, the less detail I'm going to have, and it's going to get like fuzzy. I still at some point I want to make sure my pencil stays sharp. And then, you know, you still want to come in and you still want to make sure that you're leaving space. You can have these little trail areas here, but you want to leave some space. You don't want to have again, you don't want to have it clumped up. I think the biggest problem people have with trees is they always want to put them into like a pattern like like you're drawing bricks, right? And I think what people forget is like a brick wall is man-made, it's human-made, and it's a pattern. Okay, trees don't work that way. Trees have holes, they have gaps, they have dead branches. There's all kinds of stuff. So as I move down, you know, I'm just gonna, I try to skip if you spend any time in the nature or in the forest, go up into the mountains. Okay, these trees, especially in a densely populated area, a lot of them have like holes in them or gaps because they don't receive enough light because they're competing against each other for light. And then you'll have some other ones that just because of the elevation or the formation of the land or any other things that are in that landscape, like a slope, right? They might receive way more light than the trees behind it, farther down on the slope behind it. Those trees probably get more shadow. So they're not going to be as kind of like quick as well. And you can see how I'm just going down that center, right? And I'm bringing this in. And right now you see that there's not a lot of mass here because I really haven't gotten to it yet. So I'm going to come in here. Again, same shapes, guys. Same shapes. Repeated over and over again. That's all that is. Again, it's just these shapes right here. It's just these two shapes right here, over and over again. I think maybe perhaps the other problem is people want to draw them like this or like this. You're not drawing them like that or like that. It's you know, you're putting them in this way, right? That's just kind of like the movement you go through. Anytime you draw a sharp geometric shape in nature, it stands out. Okay, it stands out. Geometric shapes do not exist in nature. Okay, so there's my next tree. Again, sharpen, make sure I get those needles. And now I'm just hatching away. Any area that I don't like, so let's say I feel like an area is too empty or too barren, too bright, too much white showing through, I'm just going to go back in and add lighter values. Any places where I feel like it needs a shadow, I do the opposite. I go in and I add darker values. So I just want to be able to, you know, show some of this stuff really quick, and really want to get to the other trees. So Okay, so here's this tree. There's still some values in here I got to get rid of. Going back to normal speed. And now what I want to do is I want to indicate these trees in the background. So when I do that, I'm going to work in kind of like flat strokes. And I'm just going to work my way from the middle to the out. Again, keep in mind the spacing. I think if you were to take the time and look at enough pictures of these type of trees in a forest setting, or if you spend enough time in the forest, you know, I like to hike, which is weird because I never did like hiking before. I think what it is, I like taking photographs, and so I will now take like little mini adventures to do photography, and that's kind of forced me into hiking a bit. But now you can see that I'm putting in these strokes, and you can see how now it's coming into this other tree that I put in first. And you can see some of those areas I kind of let a little bit lighter. So they're going to start blending in, and then what happens is you can come back in later and add some key dark shadows that really separate this tree from the other tree. And at the same time, when you're putting in these, you just get a little bit lighter as you move down. Now here's an important thing. Okay, and I got a little bit of a mistake here, so I'm going to erase this part. You're doing this. You're doing these type of strokes on a flatter, and you're just kind of making them softer. But while I was talking, I started clumping, and that's what led to that little oops right here. And then this is this tree, so I want to make sure that's separate. So I'm going to separate that. This is out a little too dark, so I'll just go in and tap it, lighten it up a bit, and then I'm just going to come in, and I still keep my drawing fundamentals even when I don't just do fill in shading. Okay, I'm pretending like I'm still drawing the rest of that tree just behind this, and you can see how my values got a little bit lighter as I moved in. Now I can come back in. I'm just going to sharpen this pencil just a little bit. I can come back into these areas, and I could add a little bit more texture lines. Just enough texture to offer like a hint, and maybe draw a little bit some darker shadows. But that's it. That's all I want. Now this other one in the back, it's going to be much lighter, and I'm going to erase this line because this line's coming through a little bit too much. Got a little bit of a smudge there. And I'm just going to barely indicate it. And now I have a cluster of trees. I can apply a little light value in here. You know, I could put another one back here too. These trees are fairly consistent in height. When you change your, when you put them in the same distance, the important thing to keep in mind is keep them the same value, and keep them relatively close in height. Don't have too much variation, unless you're indicating a slope. If you're indicating a slope, that's fine. you can see how this is just appearing like it's in that background. And that's it. That's all you have to do to really draw these trees. Now all I really have to do is draw, like, I could draw another medium one in here. Okay, so here's my height line. So I can say there's going to be another one here. Again, draw my shape. I know the trunk's going to be back here. So they're progressively going to get smaller as they go into the background. They're going to lose detail. And I can lay in another one of these, right? And it's just, you just repeat, and you just kind of switch the order up. Put in value for a ground. You can add, you can add a texture on this ground if you want to. You can add boulders, you can add rocks. You can add a lot of stuff. And you're just going to indicate it, and that's it. As you get to the front, you can, add a little bit of texture. Get that in the ground. And that's it. You just keep on going, you just repeat and repeat, and you're going to get cluster trees. Anytime you have values that kind of stick out, you just go back in and fill those values in. And then you're just going to let people's brains fill in the gaps. And then anything you feel like, okay, I'm going to add a little bit of texture here, a little bit of texture there, a little bit poking through there. People will fill it in. You don't have to worry about it. People are just going to optically blend everything. And that's how you can have a group cluster of trees. I'm going to stop right now. I think what I will do is I will show you how to do like some of these trees. Now here's a good example. Generally in nature, you're not going to find this tree and that evergreen tree in the same area. You're going to find a lot of trees that are like this, or a lot of trees that grow low to the ground, and those will be clumped together. You'll see other high altitude, cold weather trees that could survive that environment. You'll see those mixed in with these type. So like you can have like a bunch of pine trees, and then you can have some birch trees popped in there too. And a lot of trees, they'll be in clusters, so you won't see like one birch tree and then like 5 pine trees. You'll find a cluster of pine and then a small cluster of birch trees and then more pines, and then you might get like one random birch tree and one random pine tree mixed in with those. But for the most part, they're going to be clustered. So this, hopefully, I lose track of time. I'm going to speed up some of it, but I hope that helps you guys out for those trees. And then again, I'll do another video showing how to do like an oak tree or maple trees, poplar trees, stuff like that. Have a good day.